You are welcome back. This is still the Business Lens on Rapid Television, Abuja. I am Divine Alex, and joining me on today's conversation is Benjamin Awogs. He is a business consultant and analyst. You're welcome to the show, Benjamin.
So I'm good. I'm excited to be here.
Okay, thank you so much. So let's dive into it proper, right? Now, the federal government has raised 501 billion naira from the bond market to begin clearing over 6 trillion naira that was owed to power generation companies, which is a debt that has choked Nigerians' electricity value chain for a while, for some time now. Now, that brings me to the question. With this money, 501 billion naira that is raised against liabilities north of 6 trillion naira that is owed, is this a meaningful intervention, or do you think this is just a signal to calm JETCOs and investors?
It's definitely a meaningful one. The industry has been clamoring for, this intervention for a long time. It's been a couple of years now. It was actually 4 trillion. Then it started to, move upwards to 6 trillion. So it has definitely gotten to the point where the federal government had to intervene and find a financial solution to the problem because it was affecting the value chain. Both the gencos were in gas suppliers, the discos in turn were in the gencos, so it is, if you look at the electricity goals that this administration has, um, they really plan to achieve those goals. Um, Raising debt, in the bond markets to do this, it's definitely the right step to take. The journey is still, we're not even halfway there yet. It's 501 billion. They're going to raise 6 trillion, so it's a good place to start.
Okay, now these debts have piled up largely because tariffs haven't reflected costs, among other things. Now, without fixing pricing and collection, are we simply refinancing a structural failure? What do you think?
There's a conundrum, and that conundrum is that Nigerians don't currently possess the financial capacity to afford subsidy-free tariffs. Even right now, there's still a small amount of subsidy in that industry
Okay.
because everybody knows that in terms of purchasing power, the people still need some sort of support. But the goal is to get to that level where everyone can afford it. And that's why they just recently released meters free to a lot of consumers, so that by the time you streamline, that collection mechanism, so that nobody is using postpaid again, then we can now gradually start moving there. So it's not like they're structuring. It's not like they're promoting a structural problem. It's just that on our journey to where we want to be, which is people being able to afford electricity, subsidy free. We have to do these things. We have to provide this financing. We have to support them, to get there. Like a young baby that's trying to walk, you know, you have to help the baby walk gradually. Then
Now,
baby now starts walking. So
okay. Now, what is this supposed to mean for genuine power sector reset?
the power sector is, sorry, can you repeat
This.
that question?
Okay. Now, what should investors read into this development, right, in terms of what it's supposed to be on the genuine power sector reset? Like, do you think this is actually going to help us in resetting the power sector?
Oh yeah, definitely, it would help.
How?
Like I said, it's a small step in that direction
Okay.
because like I said, there's a problem with the value chain, and part of that problem is debt.
Okay.
So if the federal government fixes that debt and the discos have healthy books, they can raise more money, they can expand. Meters more, we can have more meters, and it generally stabilizes the issue. There's an elephant in the room that I've not spoken, and that's gas.
Okay.
That's because gas is the brunt of everything. About 75% of electricity supply is from gas. And part of the origins of this debt is from the supply of gas to Gencos, and there's still a lot of I don't want to say reforms because we're still trying to understand how to create a gas framework. The NNPC just released this long-awaited gas master plan,
Mm-hmm.
the 2.0 version. So that gas master plan now, the crux of everything in that document, or the crux of the whole master plan is to find the pricing mechanism, locally here, so we can be able to bring out our gas from the ground and then find a way to sell it to people who need it at a price that by the time it flows through the value chain and gets to the end consumer, they will be able to afford it
For it.
sustainably.
Okay.
It's a very tricky solution, but like I said, we're moving in the right direction.
Okay, we are moving in the right direction. Now let's look at the telecoms, where Nigeria's telecom sector pulled in over $1 billion in fresh capital in 2025, deploying more than 2,850 new network sites and recording service quality improvements in Q4. Now, how significant do you think this inflow is in telecom terms, especially when operators are battling FX pressure, rising energy costs, and infrastructure vandalism?
Mm. I think it's definitely a good sign. It's a
Okay.
sign that the foreign investors in general, trust, the profitability and potency of the industry.
Okay.
One thing about telcos is, recently they increased their tariffs.
Hmm.
And if you look at the data, we actually found out that despite the increase in tariffs, Nigerians were still buying more.
Hmm.
Nigerians were still spending more. Actually, Nigerians actually spent more time online using their services, after the tariff increase. So
Hmm.
that tells you that after food, you look at our CPI basket too, you can see that in that data. After food, shelter, the next thing the Nigerians spend their money on is data.
Data,
So
yeah.
it's very, very, yeah, it's very, very important. So anybody that's investing in this country right now,
Hmm.
you have to look at telcos. You definitely have to look at. So
I
it
think
was
this
an
informed the general conversation. I think it's a saying that in Nigeria, just have data and everything is sorted. Now, 2,850 new sites, right? This sounds really impressive, but Nigerians still complain about dropped calls and slow data. Now, are these investments catching up with demand? Or, we're just trying not to just fall
well,
behind? What do you think?
that's a very interesting question. You definitely have to do further investigation to give you a complete answer. But this is what I'll just say off the top of my head.
Hmm.
The rural areas would always have. I think I was in Enugu some weeks ago. It was very
Okay.
bad. It was very bad. So the rural areas would always have um, these infrastructural issues because of cellular technology. With cellular technology, you have to set up a mast, you have to go service station.
Mm-hmm.
So cellular technology it poses some infrastructural gaps, it kind of exposes the infrastructural gaps that we have in Nigeria. This is why what they're doing in the industry now, they're looking more towards satellites, which is um it is I don't want to say it doesn't require as much infrastructure, but it's better in terms of penetrating those rural areas.
Mm-hmm.
So there's still a lot of work to be done in terms of internet penetration. I think right now we're getting closer to 50%, probably about 49% or 48%.
Okay, I think that's an
Yeah, so
interesting take. Now, you are
yeah.
a business consultant, right? Now, from an investor perspective, does this signal confidence in Nigeria's digital economy or, simply long-term capital that is locked into a difficult market?
It's not a difficult market. This actually signals
Okay.
growth. It signals that in the long term, the telco industry is expanding, and there's still a lot of room for investment to come in and
Mm-hmm.
unlock certain areas of the market. So yeah, we're on the right path, definitely.
Okay. Okay, now on the issue of the 2.45 trillion naira that was disbursed to states for infrastructure and security, official records, showed that 2.45 trillion naira was disbursed to states and the FCT over 17 months for infrastructure and securities interventions funded from non-oil revenue sectors, savings rather. Now, when this money, which is the 2.45 trillion naira, goes to a subnational government, what does this mean for Nigerians?
It means that the state governments, which is a subnational that's closer to you, are supposed to be able to, listen to the complaints and the needs of the people, at least at that subnational level. It means that they have more in their purse, they have more in their bank account to spend on infrastructure, on securities. But there's a problem. The problem is that, I've observed that Nigerians, when they want to hold the government accountable, they focus about 98% of their efforts on the federal government.
Okay.
Most of the time. So this is a wake-up call for Nigerians to start looking at the subnationals, because in the last 3 years, going beyond even the data that you presented, in the last 3 years, they've seen a massive increase in liquidity. They've seen a massive increase in monies that they've received, both at the fact level and generally, some of them their IGRs are up. The people just need to hold them more accountable. Hold them more accountable to ensure that they are spending that money on the right things that improve the lives of their citizens.
Okay. Now, what risks do you see around transparency and outcomes, especially when funds are disbursed under special intervention programs rather than the regular budget channels? At the same time, how do you think Nigerians should really, measure all of this impact?
Well, there are a lot of risks when it comes to transparency. Definitely, a lot of risks. Most state governments, it's very difficult to even see budget implementation reports. See transparency reports. It's very difficult to get these figures.
Okay.
So those are the risks. But like I said, the people really need to understand that, look, my state government is getting more money. What are they doing
With
about
this
it?
money?
Government responds to public outcry. If nobody is complaining, they would not see the need to do anything. That's just the attitude of Nigerian government in general. So if the people are complaining and they're putting pressure on the government by raising their voices, then definitely the government is going to come out and explain to the people what they are doing with this money, because it's something that's in the conversation that really, really needs to be had right now.
So the state government need to come and explain what they're really doing with all of this money, because that is the conversation, and you heard it straight from Benjamin, who is a business consultant and analyst on the Business Lens. Let's take this quick break. When we come back, we'll be looking at the topic that says global funds to local impact, right? How Nigerian businesses can tap World Bank and AFDB, that's African Development Bank, opportunities. Now, it is safe to note that African Development Bank has approved a certain amount of money, which is going to be beneficial to you. So do not go anywhere. Stay with us. We'll be right back. You are welcome back. Moving on to the topic. From global funds to local impact, how Nigerian businesses can tap World Bank and the African Development Bank opportunities. Like I said earlier, that it is safe to note that the African Development Bank has approved a $3.9 million project that is to help Nigeria and alongside 12 other African countries translate energy compacts into real electricity connections by 2030. And at the same time, right, the World Bank gist, which is a big global opportunity, as I say it, that could easily be missed at home, where the World Bank says that Nigerian firms can tap into a $250 billion procurement pipeline that is spread across over 40,000 projects worldwide. Now, these are not just abstract development numbers, they are real opportunities. Now, the question is whether ordinary Nigerians and small businesses are positioned to benefit from this development. Now, that brings me back to you, Benjamin. When the World Bank talks about $250 billion in procurement, and then the AFDB talks about power connections, how does this translate into real jobs and contracts for Nigerians, SMEs, and
Yeah, thank you for that question. Like you said, the World Bank has deployed about 250 billion, basically spending money around the world. It's not just Africa, but Nigeria inclusive.
yes,
So that translates into about 40,000 procurement opportunities that Nigerian businesses can tap into. If you go to the World Bank website right now, they have a business opportunities page. If you go there right now, you see upcoming opportunities, you see current opportunities where you can actually bid for procurement contracts that the World Bank is carrying out, around the world. And then it's the same thing too with AFDB's Project 300 million. I think that's what they call it. Yeah, the plan is to provide electricity to 300 million more homes by 2030. So they just released $2.9 million now for that project, which is the phase two. So Nigerian businesses can also tap into that by applying, for things like supplying of meters,
okay,
building energy infrastructures, energy transition projects,
okay.
so these are ways that we can definitely tap in. Our businesses can definitely tap into this um,
Now,
financial provisions.
financial provision. Now, this is not the first time. I think it has become somehow almost common that you see some businesses set up, right? And then
Mm.
later you see them say, oh, they were not able to like keep up, and a lot of issues, they had to close down. In fact, I think one of the times I was going through my timeline on one of my social media platforms, and then I saw somebody say, oh, you're starting a business, just designate the first and second one to failure because you're definitely going to fail. You start, you fail, and other plenty conversations around it. So this has now been embedded into the minds of a lot of people now. That brings me to the next question. What practical steps, right, should a small Nigerian company take today in terms of registrations, in terms of certifications, in terms of partnerships to even qualify for these opportunities and at the same time be able to sustain their businesses without them closing it down and calling it experimental
Mm.
startups? Yes.
Yeah, so thank you for that question. A lot of business owners, in Nigeria, they do not prioritize compliance enough. They do not prioritize, what I call procurement readiness. Because if you want to bid for a procurement contract or any form of contract with a legitimate entity, there's a lot of compliance requirements, goes beyond tax. Tax is also there, but you need to keep your records well. You need to have the necessary certifications within that industry. You need a lot of compliance related things. If it's in Nigeria now, if it's a government contract, you need things like NSITF, ITF, BPE, so you have your EFCCs, school, things like that. Depending on the industry that you're into, if you go beyond that, some industries have some specific things. Engineering, they have things like growing and all that. So you need to really understand what you're trying to do as a business owner and
Okay.
understand that compliance is what allows you to tap into the opportunities that are around you. So if you're not compliant, when you start trying to get these opportunities, and that is when you want to start the compliance process. Compliance takes time. Let's say you have an opportunity now and you're not compliant, when you want to start. How do you want to beat people that are already compliant and they are bidding already, they're applying, you understand, they're applying before you. So
Yes.
you need to prepare. You need to be procurement ready, and that's compliance. So you need to prepare.
Okay.
And also partnering with known firms within your industry, outside your industry, international partnerships. You need to leverage on partnership too. And also focus on sectors that are really demanding capital right now.
Okay.
Power is one of them, transports.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you know that many times we say, oh, leverage, find those things. How would you tell them, like, how does, because many people don't even understand that they could actually go into partnership or even know how to navigate, getting into partnership or getting other companies that are, around the same what they do to partner with them. Now, how would you like explain it to somebody who has little or no knowledge? Because sometimes these people make a lot of research and they are convinced that they can actually start this business, pursue this things and be able to do, but many people don't know how to get into it. So how would you, talk to somebody who doesn't know how? Like, what is the how for these people to be able to like find the sources and be able to leverage these tools?
I mean, this is a deep conversation that I would advise people to consult me for, but I'll try to say some of the key things that I can just say.
Okay.
If you're going into business, you need to understand. You have to have a clear picture of the value that you bring to the table. So when you understand the value that you bring to the table, then you can now find people around your ecosystem that need that value that you bring to the table. And maybe because you're just starting, you need partnerships, you need people. You may do some things, offer some value, just for association, just for probably they're probably going to get paid, but you do some things, offer some things to certain businesses or certain people who are known in the industry, so you can get that validation, you can get that exposure, you can get that work experience. It's very, very important. Sometimes you may not have made money as a young business or young entrepreneur, but you've been involved in key projects. You put that on your resume or what your company profile. You put that on your company profile. You've been involved in key projects. You have hands-on experience.
Okay.
You've done this, done that. You built relationships. So like I said, it all starts from first understanding the value that you
You
bring.
bring
You understand that value that you bring, you'll be able to identify people around you, around your
that
industry,
could
around your sector
assist. Okay.
that need that
Now,
value.
many small medium enterprises hear the word World Bank, and assume that it is only for big multinationals. What do you think is the biggest myth holding local businesses back?
Well, compliance is one.
Okay.
The compliance is one. If you look at the big process for the World Bank projects, it's very professional. It's very professional. So it's like if your financial statements are not even up to date, they are not up to a certain standard. I don't think you can qualify. But the thing is, see, small businesses in Nigeria, these things that we're talking about, like keeping accurate records, being procurement ready compliant, being compliant, you know, they take a lot of these things for granted, because they feel, why should I, is this, to them, they don't have, most don't have that scope. They don't have World Bank in their plans, they don't have these things in their plans. It's people like us that will tell them that, look, you have these opportunities for you to tap in, and for you to tap into opportunities, these are the things you need to do.
Do.
You know, yeah.
Okay.
So they take a lot of these things like compliance and all of that. These things that open doors for you. They take them for granted. They take them for granted.
Okay.
You
Keyword
know,
taking it
yeah.
for granted. Now, from the government side, right? What are the support systems you think should exist that they're supposed to like bring to assist Nigerian firms to be able to, compete globally? Because it's not only about them trying to like do the research, going through all those plenty processes. The Nigerian government, should have a role that they're supposed to like put into, to assist these people to be able to grow their companies. What are these?
That's a
Yes,
that's a great
steps.
question. Um, I think there's a problem of education. There's a problem of professionalism. I think the Economist wrote an article some years ago. It said Nigeria has a lot of small businesses, but we don't have enough. We don't have enough business scale. We
Okay.
don't have enough businesses of scale. We have a lot of small, very, very small business. We don't have enough businesses of scale. Now, every Nigerian business person is not interested in partnering with other people. Do you understand?
Yes.
They mostly want to just do it on their own. And I always tell them that, look, if you want to build something of scale, you can't do it on your own. You need to, work with other people, in various forms, it's not just one form. So like, the government needs to come in. You know how in the tech system they have these accelerator programs, where you go into the accelerator program, they tell you the basics of, running a startup, what you need to do, the do's and don'ts, how to access opportunities, how to access funding, and, mentorship. So I think the government needs to now start thinking of solutions in that direction for SMEs. How can we bring a lot of SMEs together, teach them some of these things, make them more professional, teach them emotional intelligence. Yes, I'll call it emotional intelligence. How to build relationships with people in your industry and work with them and build sustainable relationships that can scale, whatever you're doing. Everybody just wants to sit on their own and do what they're doing. There's a limit to how, you can grow. So these are some of the solutions to the problems that I've
Conversations that are
identified.
supposed to have with SMEs. Okay, now ultimately, right? You already said an average Nigerian, an ordinary Nigerian. Now, speaking about them right now, ultimately, how do you think, ordinary Nigerians should care about these announcements and what changes if Nigeria gets this right versus when we miss the moment?
What announcements in particular are you talking about?
Because of the fact that World Bank is, came out to say, oh, we have
Okay.
this, and then AFDBs, we have this, and a lot of other opportunities that could come up, right? How?
Um,
Yes.
well, they need to pay attention.
Mm.
It's very important that they definitely need to pay attention to what is going on. When you pay attention and you understand what's going on, like if you're watching this interview now, at least you have learned a few things and how you can position yourself to start applying for this thing. Once you are ready, once you have everything ready from the compliance angle, you're building relationships gradually. Just
Mm-hmm.
start applying. Just start applying. Each time you apply, you try to do, you actually improve your application.
Okay.
Each time you apply, you try to improve your application. Just apply, keep applying, applying. You will be surprised, at the
What will
opportunities that will fall in
happen?
your lap.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, as a business consultant, somebody who helps people, put their thoughts in business to be able to make money together. Now, what would you say? Because our topic is saying from global to the local business person. Now, what would be your advice? What did you leave behind that they're supposed to note to be able to have access to those funds, to be able to get those funds work for them as an ordinary Nigerian looking to start something?
Mm. Well, one thing I would say that most people don't know is we need to start thinking beyond Nigeria. As a Nigerian entrepreneur, you can actually handle projects in other neighboring African countries, especially through this World Bank program, through the FFDB program. You can actually apply for projects or procurement deals that are not in Nigeria. Nigeria is there, you can do Nigeria too, but try to think beyond Nigeria. Don't just limit yourself to Nigeria.
Okay, never limit yourself to Nigeria. Thank you so much, Benjamin Works, for being on the show today. It was good to have you here today. Now, that's all for today's edition of Business Lens, where we've
Thank you, Alice.
explored Nigeria's economy, markets, and opportunities for businesses. Don't forget to follow us across our social media channels for more updates. I am Divine Alex. Thank you for watching. See you next time, 11 a.m. on Thursday. And don't forget to stay with Rapid TV. Bye for now.